What's your opinion on men buying all the many realistic love dolls from overseas? Does it mean men are over relationships? How about people buying more and more sex toys to compensate, especially during lockdowns? These two questions are a symptom of a major problem that I think humans are facing today. So, like we already know, the interaction between men and women seems to fall apart, if you will. And at first, when I saw one of the most successful sellers of love dolls, I was a bit enraged at men, and I thought that they're trying to get out of the responsibility, and why do men don't want to do the work anymore, and why do men don't want to be with women anymore? It's just like that's a mystery or somehow. And I realized I was a hypocrite, because at least what I was failing to understand, so I'm not going to generalize that to women because people get offended, so it's not women, it's me as a woman. So what I was failing to understand is that women are not quite a gift to the world just because they are women. It's like, on the contrary, women come with a lot of responsibility. And on top of the fact that a woman is a lot of responsibility to a man's life, once she has offspring, she brings further more responsibility and probably grief for the entire life of a man. So women fail to understand that. Don't get me wrong, obviously a woman can be a complement to a man's life, but you have to do that, you have to be it. It's not like because you're a woman by default you're the gift to the world. The only thing I can think of is that evolution is using your body in order to create other humans. But just because there's a bunch of humans in the world doesn't mean that they're all a gift to the world, if you will. And I hope that goes without saying. So that is the number one how not to be attitude that women have and have put men off for obvious reasons. And since women bring so much grief into men's life, and don't get me wrong, men didn't seem to mind to provide for women ever. But what happened, women have changed the attitude, and not only that there are lots of responsibility, but they're also a pain in the ass on top of that. They're ungrateful, and they're not loyal, and they're not helpful either, and they're not supportive, and they're not kind. So on top of that, on top of the responsibility that women bring, with on top of the children, and on top of the demands, and on top of the fact that they get old so fast, and on top of the fact that having sex with a woman, it's not scarce anymore. So on top of all that, men don't want to deal with that anymore, and for obvious reasons. I mean, I wouldn't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with women also. And mind you, I'm not saying that women are like that. No, that is the flaws of female nature, and women are choosing to behave like that. There's also always a choice how to be, and more often than not in today's world, women are continually choosing this path, which has led into men wanting to have sex with dolls, which they don't require too much maintenance, they don't require, children, they don't require too much resources. They're one-off payment, and also they're quiet and they're hot and they never get old. I mean, that is a good deal if you think about it logical. Now, is that a solution to the problem about the interaction between men and women? No, but it certainly is a quick solution for men that have had enough of all those that I just said about women, all that type of behavior. And yeah, it's an easier way to get out of it, if you will, and it leaves men at peace with their life and being able to do what they're driven to do without having women involved. So yeah, the gutting truth for the ego, for a woman's ego, is that men can live in this world without women. They can. If they could, literally, if they could have, and they will have artificial wombs, they will be able to live and strive on this planet. They don't need emotional support. They don't need what a woman has to offer in the world unless she's behaving exceptional. Yes, obviously things are gonna, they're gonna lack some things that women do bring into the world, but overall, compared with the women, men can survive on this planet without women, whereas women cannot survive without men. And I know this is really difficult to grasp and digest because it kind of makes you feel like not worth it, but that's not what I'm saying. Obviously, I'm talking from an evolutionary perspective, as in men are stronger than women and they could deal with the environment and wrestle with it way better than a woman's body can. And there's plenty of evidence for that. But precisely because it's so gutting to digest this information is the problem of a woman's way of being today. It's this pride and this egoistic way of being, which we all have, not only women, but primarily women have made too much noise about it, and this is what is dominating today, if you will. I'm not saying that men are better, or I'm not here to defend men. Obviously men can be as dick-headed as any other man and so on and so forth. They're not God either. They're humans just like us. If we think about it, what women can bring and are bringing to the table, if you will, they're bringing the youth and the beauty and supposedly the kindness and the feminine energy to a relationship, which that's not happening too much anymore. Whereas men are the builders of the world. They are the ones that they struggle, they compete. They're the ones out there that they would rather die rather than babysit children. And that's another thing women don't understand. They have children and they expect the father to behave like a mother, and doesn't make any sense, because if men would be driven to stay with the children and babysit them, who the heck will do all the other rough and uncomfortable stuff in the world? Of course, one or two women would be out there, nutcases, that they will do that, but most likely men are doing the hard work. Since men are the providers and the resources and the food of the world, now you think the world would be better without the food and the builders, or better, or not better? I mean, the world could survive without the kindness and compassion that doesn't exist anyway. So we can see that even without the compassion and all these inputs that women are bringing, or they're meant to bring into the world doesn't fall apart. So again, the narrative that women are a gift to the world is a complete nonsense. As much as men, if you're a dickhead doesn't mean you're a gift to the world. Like, you have to become that person that is, that people would miss, or the world would collapse without you. And obviously I'm talking about the human world. Obviously, if both men and women disappear, the world will not collapse, and it's going to be here, and it was here long before we arrived. So yeah, I think men are more likely than not over with relationships, but not because they don't want women anymore, just because women are not willing to lower the standards and be more realistic, and don't be such a pain in the ass, basically. I think men are willing to put up with women if women are decent and loyal, especially loyal and supportive and all that stuff. Yeah, so unfortunately, yes, with the technology and everything else, men and women are falling apart. The interaction between them is falling apart, and it's sad. But at the same time, it's meant to happen, I guess. If this is the choices and the road we chose, well, these are the consequences, and now the next generation is going to live with it. As for the sex toys that have been ordered online during the lockdowns and so on and so forth, I don't know what to think about that. It was also because no one was able to meet and have sex, and there's this sexual tension needed to be released somehow. And a lot of women and gay guys, I guess, were ordering these sex toys, I would assume. But that still has a connection with the fact that men and women don't seem to find the middle ground anymore, and you know, women don't want to drop the pride. And because, yes, I think if we don't have sex with each other, we can't, it's not only that we can't have children, we can't bond in a relationship. So yeah, sex, it is plays a major role in our relationship. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope that kind of gave you a little bit of insight into my thoughts about this problem that I think we're facing. And it was a really good question, and I think it was worth talking about it. Not sure if I said anything new, perhaps you were already aware of this, but since you asked for my opinion, here we are. Anyway, I hope you're all well, and thank you so much for following me and for your inputs and comments and your kind messages. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. See ya!